All right, so this is one of our mobile tractor units. We had 3 of these, but 2 of them got damaged in the blizzard we had last night, so we have this one left. This one is 20 by is 10 by 20, so it will hold so there's 100 birds in here right now, so we're right at the limit for the organic requirements for square footage per bird. And it has perches built into it and the feeders and waterers, and there's 100 laying hens in here right now. We use the Australorp breed. These will be laying hens. These were put in here when they were about 2.5 weeks old. I'm trying to think how old these are now. Are they they're about 3 months, so coming close to maybe 12 weeks now. So they'll start laying eggs about 20 months of age. So they're not there yet. So these are pullets. They get moved onto grass every day. The grass is more of a supplement. They're actually on a balanced, not quite a laying hen ration yet. They're still on a grower developer ration. They'll be moved over to a laying ration once they get about laying age, about 20 weeks of age. We feed them certified organic feed that we purchase locally, but we also, and we'll talk about that in my presentation, but we typically get our feed from Blue Stem Organics in Webster City, Iowa. We can get it by the tote, get it by like 1-ton totes. And then you can but also you can just get it by the bag at your local feed store, but it is more expensive. When you buy it in the the 40-pound bags, you're paying like 85 cents per pound. When you buy it bulk, you can get it down to like 65 to 70 cents per pound in some cases. So maybe something to think about. So yeah, there's about 100 in here, and then once they start laying, you can see here on the backside we have nesting boxes in here. So there'll be nesting boxes mounted on the sides of the unit, so the nesting boxes will go with the birds and they stay on grass all the time. In the winter time, we have a little bit different of a setup. Obviously, we won't be able to move these in the winter time when there's snow on the ground. So we're building a new laying hen barn, and those will be they'll be put in those barns when it's super, super cold. But the birds do go outside even when it's really cold. So they go outside every day, even when it's like 30 below. They do just fine. And obviously in the wintertime, as far as feed goes, we put like out fresh alfalfa hay and sprouts and organic greens that we have, like organic table scrap, fresh vegetables, those kinds of things that we have left over. They love that kind of stuff. Huh? Sometimes fermented grain, but so yeah, we just try to give them one thing to remember with these birds is, even when you're feeding table scraps or stuff out of the garden, it does have to be 100% organic, because if it's not, your birds will be not eligible for organic anymore. So some people make the mistake, I'm just going to go, the store and buy some stuff, and then I'm just going to give the leftovers to my chickens. If it's not 100% organic, you can't do that. So I have to be really cautious about that. So everything in our garden and everything that we give them is all 100% certified organic. So I'm just trying to think. So when they move they move it with a tractor. They hook it up onto the front here. There's a rope. Glenn, do you have anything you want to add about how you move it? You want to come over here?
Well, normally to move it, it just takes. We just use our small Kubota. It's a combination mower, small garden tractor that moves it just fine. It slides across the ground really well, and it's constructed. It's very stable in the wind. This one has been flipped over, but it took a 70-mile-an-hour wind to send it for a trip. So you can see there's a couple bent up areas. So we basically took an economy greenhouse and converted it into a multi-purpose unit to raise broilers and to run laying hens in it. We have nesting boxes and perches mounted on the inside. Slides, you can see PVC runners that were made out of PVC pipe and cut to make a shoe over the top of the wood so it slides easily over the grass. Do have a removable shade cloth. Sides roll up and down as needed due to weather conditions. What else would you like me to add?
No, I think that's it.
We also have doors on both ends, so you can easily enter depending on how you have it configured. It can pull either direction, entered from either side.
So you manually haul water and feed. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, normally for right now this one is set up so we normally just bring our water over, haul our feed over. When I bring the tractor over to move it, I bring the water and the feed over for a day at a time. They get moved on to fresh grass every day. When we're doing broilers and they get probably right around that 5 weeks, we'll start moving them actually twice a day because they're ferocious grass eaters at that age. So depending on the conditions, you might have to move them more often or less often. Just it's unique to your situation and the type of grass you have. Right here, we've got a lot of clover, and they just love it. They just go right to town. So.
Yeah, I think if you're working in a larger system, Featherman, which David Schaefer has a great website at, I think it's feathermanequipment.com is what I think it is, but he has bell waterers and trench feeders, like the feeder trays that you can mount on the inside with the bell waterers, and I've actually seen these units put up with their own self-contained water tanks attached to them. So when you move the unit, you're moving the bell waterer, the feeders, and everything all in one step. You could also put feeders that are that you can fill from the outside, so you don't actually have to go inside the units. We currently go inside the units. We at our peak, we were running 1,000 birds at a time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We only have 100 right now, but we have more coming. It's been a really rainy season in our part here in southeast South Dakota. So we've been a little bit slower getting out of the gate just because of all the rain that we've received, and it's been a little bit challenging. One thing I didn't mention is when we start these birds, they're actually started. We use just a livestock tank with bedding and heat lamps. It's a really simple, inexpensive setup in the garage. Easy to sanitize. We put 100 chicks per 8-foot tank, and you know what? You can get up and started with something like that for like $125, maybe $150. I don't know how much those tanks are, but really inexpensive startup. Something like this. This was kind of a modified. This is a modified high tunnel from Farm Tech, I think. Is that where we got him, Glenn? I think it's Farm Tech. Yeah, the hoop house came from Farm Tech. I think now you can probably get this whole setup for a couple $1,000. So not like a major investment if you want to just start something like this. So pretty economical. Once, like I said, the laying hens are going to stay in here for the summer. We have a different chicken tractor that we're going to be using for our broilers, which I'm going to show you in a moment, that we order from Featherman. It's called the Chicken Ship. Not chicken, it's ship, S-H-I-P. I have a lisp, so I want to make sure everybody understands it's not the other word, but it's actually a ship, and I'll go over there and show you what that looks like. But when they get to maturity, we will actually, move the chickens into these crates when they're at weight, and then, or when we need to transport them to the laying hen barn, they'll go into these crates, and then they go over into the processing plant over there, which we're going to show you next. So they literally go from the field. We actually take them off grass for one day. So we have an area we call dry lotting them. So we'll dry lot them on dirt so that we don't want that feed in their gut, while we're processing them, because it can lead to contamination issues. So we want their gut cleaned out. So we take them off feed 24 hours prior to being processed. Then we call that dry lotting. So we'll put them on just dry dirt in the shed or something where they're safe, but they're off of feed for 24 hours. They can still have water, but it's a lot easier to clean them when they're not full of grass and chicken feed. Okay. All right, so let's go look at our other unit that we're going to be using for our broilers. All right, so this is a brand new unit that we are testing out this year. It's a chicken ship from Featherman Equipment. It's actually manufactured right here in South Dakota by Centerville Manufacturing. So this just got delivered yesterday, so it's not totally complete yet. But this is what we're going to be moving to for our broilers. It's kind of a modified Joel Salatin type of chicken trailer structure. You get your option of a tarp or metal roof. We actually ordered the one with the metal roof. We'll actually have probably one or the other, but you can get this particular one, I believe, is 10 by 12. So we could probably get about 50, 55, 60 broilers in here. It does come with built-in feeder troughs, so you don't have to worry about, you know, they'll move with it. It also comes with a bell waterer that you can fill from the outside. So we have to still get that installed. It does come, you know, with a nice latching door, so it's all metal, which is nice. So you don't have to worry about rotting wood, things like that. And again, it's got the wheels, it's got a mechanism, handle here that allows you to push down the wheels so you can easily move it across the pasture, and then crank it back down, and it goes back down to the ground level so rodents aren't able to get in it, huh? Yeah, Glenn, if you could demonstrate how it works.
That rotates, cams the wheels down, and then you can just lighten up. You can just move it wherever you want very easily.
Yeah, so this is light enough. Yeah, Glenn just moved it by hand, but it's meant to be like really easy to move across the grass, and I think it's stable enough. It's not that heavy. Might have to in a high wind. You still might need to. They
do sell a wind kit.
A wind, yeah. They do sell wind kits for this, but to kind of stabilize it to the ground, because like Glenn was saying, we did have some high winds this spring that took one of our high tunnels for one of our chicken tractors for a spin in the field. Thankfully, there were no chickens in it at the time. But we've had some weather damage to our units, so they need to be sturdy. The other ones that we had built, this seems like a pretty sturdy, aluminum frame, and so anyway, this is a brand new for us to try this year. So we'll be doing some more videos throughout the year as we get this unit. We're probably going to get a few of these and start moving them in strips down our field, so folks can come out and see how that works in practice. Does anybody have any questions?
With the tarp roof or the metal roof, what goes into deciding which would work better for your...
That's a great. So the question is, which is better, the tarp roof or the metal roof? The metal would be a little bit heavier. Probably add a little more weight to it, so that it's maybe more will stick to the ground more. Also, I'm a fan of the metal roofs because plastic can flap in the wind, and chickens, sometimes that flapping, I don't know about you, but make them a little nervous listening to that high flapping in the wind. So I went with the metal roofs. It's not here yet because I wanted to create something that was a lot more calming for the birds. And like I said, when the wind catches this sometimes, and even that plastic over there, it can get noisy in there with the flapping. And I think I'm just, from a human perspective and compassion perspective, I wouldn't want to listen to that all day. So that was one of the reasons, I think. But otherwise, the tarp is the default, or I think it's the standard option. We upgraded to the metal roof. Yeah, and it is easier to ship this way. But for folks who are looking to get in low cost, this unit was right about $3,000. So, factor in time and labor and materials. I don't know if you could build one like this for that. So I think it's a good value. And again, if you're getting into this for the first time and you're looking to kind of get into it in a quick way without investing a lot of labor, this would be one way to do that. So that it's kind of entry level option for folks to get started with pastured poultry. So we've never done confined poultry really. I don't even know what that looks like, because even in the winter time, our birds are outside, so we open up the doors in our laying hen house, and we don't do broilers. Just for clarification, we don't do broilers in the winter. We only do broilers. The broilers are a seasonal program for us. Typically, we have them out like once the temperature starts to stabilize a little bit, like May through October, November, until we start getting snow on the ground. So we stop our broiler production, and we usually have our last processing somewhere around the 1st of November. But our laying hens are year-round. So they're going to stay with us through the winter, so we look for really hardy breeds that can withstand very, very low temperatures and extreme weather, and don't have a problem with the snow. Because like I said, we open the doors, Glenn will scoop the snow away, kind of make a path for them to get out, and away they go. And these people who think the birds can't be outside in the wintertime, they do fine out here in the wintertime. I don't know what they do in the wintertime. Glenn, what are the chickens typically? They find places to go. Yeah, the birds will find stuff to. So Glenn was saying they find stuff to forage and peck on, and they'll. We're trying to get set up too, like a little high tunnel area that's kind of free from the snow, so they can go in there. So they still get the sun and they still get everything they need, and can get maybe out of the wind a little bit and just go and kind of free range in the little high tunnel area. So we're thinking about different ways to raise the comfort level of the birds, in the wintertime, and allow them to still go outside and be able to forage and stuff. And I know some folks feed alfalfa sprouts. I've heard alfalfa sprouts are great in the wintertime to still give them that green that they need, and that supposedly that works really well too. So we haven't done that yet, but it's something that we could definitely look into doing. But yeah, we're excited about this, and we have a long-standing partnership with Featherman. All of our processing equipment came from Featherman, so we're big fans of what David Schaefer is doing and what he has done, and he's just an amazing guy. He's very visionary, looking to always invent things for producers to make their life easier so they can do this on a budget. So, all right, so with that, we're gonna move over to the processing plant. Take a look at that. Are you ready? All right. So this is our plant-in-a-box concept that we took out an FSA microloan to purchase and put up. We finished this in 2017, so we've had it a while. This was a modified, and I say plant-in-a-box because I have to give David Schaefer credit, because he designed this concept, and he owns Plant-in-a-Box LLC. This box did not come from David Schaefer, but his equipment did. This unit inspired me, and I worked with David and asked David if he would let me use his ideas and his design to build one myself. This was, my husband and I literally built this ourselves. The only thing that we did not do was paint it and put the floor in. But everything else we pretty much did ourselves. So this is a self-contained processing facility. We can do up to, the max we've ever done is 400 per day, but you could do more in here with bigger equipment. You can do up to 1,000 birds a day in something like this. It does take a crew of about 4 people. So yeah, like 4 people working on it. So, when Glenn walks you through how he does it, Glenn's usually on the kill station. I'm on the finishing end, so I usually do the evisceration. And then we have somebody at the other end doing quality control, so they're doing feather picking. So it does take about 4 people. 2 people on the evisceration table, 1 person cleaning, and 1 person killing. And with 4 people, you can do 400 birds in a day. It's a long day. We start at the break of dawn, and kind of go through. So it does have its own hot water heater. It has air conditioning. It has fans. It also has a walk-in freezer there in the back. So we're going to kind of walk through the different steps. Typically, the birds will come here. They'll be stacked in crates. This is at an angle, so the rinse water is going to run out. So we'll talk about that. There's troughs that catch it down here. So all that rinse water is caught in troughs, and then we're able to put that into a tank, and we take it to the city municipal water plant. So that's not, the sewage plant. So we have an arrangement with the city of Vermilion, although we haven't done it yet. We have an arrangement that we can take the effluent there, the rinse water. The blood and all of the carcasses are composted on the farm. So we turn it into beautiful compost. How long does it take that typically to compost? Like 6 months to a year?
Probably about 5 months total.
5 months total, but composted, turned with hay. So we typically put it in layers with hay, and it makes really nice compost. Nature's a beautiful thing, and it doesn't smell at all. Like, people think, oh, it's going to attract the flies, it's going to smell. Not when you use the hay. The way we do it, there's no smell. And when we are processing, there's no smell. People think, oh, it's got to smell really bad. You know, the birds are coming in so clean, and the way that we raise them, it's not a smelly process at all. The blood doesn't really smell. Everything is actually, it's quiet, it's clean, it's peaceful for the birds. They're not stressed out because literally their transport time is 150, 200 feet, right, to come over here. So it's a really peaceful, beautiful experience, and I really like that. And yeah, so we'll just come inside and we'll talk about the process and how it works.
All right, so I'm just going to walk through the processing steps. So the birds would be staged in crates right outside the door. They're passed through. They go into our cones upside the head. Their head will pop down here. They're very peaceful. When you do that, put them in that position. All the blood from the cuts go directly into the tube, so we capture all the blood. And then from the cones, they're removed and put right into the roto dunker.
How long is the bleed out, Glenn?
The bleed out, if the birds are nice and calm, we normally let them bleed out for approximately 2 minutes. So as one set of cones is being emptied into the roto dunker, then you're putting another set of birds in. So the rotations, you can always keep the process flowing. And then we have a roto dunker, which is a great invention. We normally put 6 birds at a time, 6 to 8 at a time in the tubes, and I'll show you how it rotates through the water. It keeps the meat from getting too hot, but it gets the feathers saturated and gets the bird to the right temperature for the feathers to come off. And as they come up, you can check feathers and find out when they're ready to pluck it. Every bird is a little bit different. The different breeds of bird require a little different time. But what we really tried is a happy medium between when you have too much heat and not enough. You can also tell in the feet of the birds with the skin when they're ready to come out.
What's the temperature of the water?
The temperature is, we keep the water temperature at 180 degrees. This is an LP burner underneath. If for some reason we have problems with the burner or the water temperature is going down, which we have probes, we check the water temperature constantly when it's operating. There'll be a thermometer right in here. That water heater will produce 180 degree water, so we can rapidly refill and not have to have downtime. Because at initial startup, this will take a couple hours minimum to bring that water from tap temperature up to 180 degrees. It's a long process, so you really got to start early. Or now with this on-demand water heater, we can speed that process up and not waste all that time. From the rotodunker, they go into the skull or to the plucker.
Mark, come on up here so you can see the fingers in here. So this is
Yep. Okay, this is our plucker. You can see the rubber fingers in here, which are replaceable. They do get worn out, but it takes a lot of birds to wear the fingers out. Once they go in, there's water automatically flows in. When I hit this control, you'll see it start spinning, and water will also be flowing at the same time to remove their feathers. And that's automatic time. When you hit that foot pedal, it's going to time for approximately, I think, a minute, and then it's going to automatically shut off.
Oh, can you see it spinning in there?
See, it automatically shuts off. So then you check the birds for pin feathers or whatever, and then this is a clean wall. So now the birds are ready to go to the processing table. So they were handed through the curtain to another crew. So all the dirty components are on this side, and then we go into the cleaner processing.
Right.
We hook their legs onto the shackles.
They're the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the other way.
Was it the other way?
the bird's legs go into the shackle, so their heads are still straight down.
And the head goes here, right? So legs and head.
So you could do the whole process right here. This table would actually be in the center with people on both sides.
And then the stuff goes
And all the
down.
offals go down into containers that will easily removed and easily sanitized.
Yeah. So these are all NSF stainless steel tables. So everything in here is NSF certified equipment, which is important for food safety. This tank here, we have it here, but it should be down at the other end. Once they're eviscerated and cleaned, so Glenn will hand them off to me, and then I start the evisceration process. This tank is actually at the end of the line. This is our clean tank where it has ice water in it, so the birds get chilled down here in this tank to the appropriate temperature before it gets put into the bagged and put into the freezer. So. So down here we'll have usually 2 people doing we have several shackles here, but we have 2 people doing the evisceration process. So we each have a table. This is an extra rinse table, but this is like for quality control. So remember I told you we're doing like feather checking and final rinse. So that's what this stainless steel system can be used for, is just quality control. That last step of making sure all the pin feathers are out and those birds are totally clean. Also, it gives us a chance to look for things that were missed on the table, like maybe a broken leg or a broken wing or sickness or whatever that may look like. It's caught here. So I'm going to talk about this in a second. So then down here, that water tank would be down here. So Morgan, yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the evisceration equipment that we use and how we do that. So I actually have on the back side of this table, we actually have a hot water knife rinse. So our dirty knives can go in this hot rinse, and it sanitizes and rinses our knives in between cutting. So it's very important that when you're using, when you're doing a lot of chickens, we try to sanitize our knives every 15 minutes. We're going to put it in here in our sanitizer. We're going to grab another one, but it's going to sanitize in this hot water. So for sanitization, either you're going to use hot water or you're going to use chlorine. Because we're organic, we don't use chlorine. So the birds are not coming in contact with chlorine, okay? So hot water is our best friend. So we use super hot water in this. It allows us to be able to keep those somewhat sanitized and cut down on pathogens. We're also sanitizing these tables at least every half hour, an hour. It just kind of depends. Sanitizing these with an approved sanitizer and then doing a rinse down event. This is a lung rake. This actually gets connected to a water hose off of these water, and this is also connected to water. So this is your main rinse device here. So it's a single handle activated right here. You can use this for rinsing your birds. This is attached to a water hose, and this is what's called a lung rake. So this is what you go inside, and it works really well. Your hands after a while get really tired doing it manually, so this works really well to get those out. I'm a big fan of Victorinox knives. It's Victorinox. These are fantastic. This is an NSF approved product, and Featherman sells these as well. David Schaefer and I they were a fan of these knives. You want a really sharp knife when you're eviscerating. This is my preferred knife when I'm doing small cuts. It's a Dexter knife. These guys are sharp and very, very sharp, and they work. You can see how narrow they are, so you're able to like get into places and make those fine cuts. We do sharpen our knives. We just have a standard knife sharpener. This is also from Victorinox. This is what we use to sharpen our knives. So sometimes we get dull knives, you're going to have to stop and sharpen your knives, or have enough on hand that you don't have to do this, because this is time consuming and it slows the line down when you have to sharpen your knives. I'd like to have more of these on hand. These are really expensive, but I'd like to have like 12 each of these for the day. And then we have, like Glenn was saying, that curtain is closed, so this is kind of like the clean side. We have a hand washing sink here. We're moving to this. Morgan, I'll let you move it. This is if you want to come down and take a picture. This is a circulating chill tank. So the chill tank that we were using before was just that stationary plastic poly tank. This one actually keeps that ice water moving. So you're keeping, when you have a lot of hot birds going in here, this actually circulates the cold water, and it keeps the birds colder. Like they chill down faster than just throwing them in that tank and just waiting. This will actually circulate that ice slurry and keep not the birds don't circulate, the water circulates around the birds to keep the birds colder faster. So once they're chilled down to the appropriate temperature, then they are ready to be put on racks for their final drying. We dry them a little bit before we bag them. So we have a walk-in freezer here. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness, it is hard. And I should talk about that too. So we have a walk-in freezer here that we have. They're not in here now, but we have stainless steel shelving that goes in here, and they go on the stainless steel shelving to just kind of like as a quick dry down and to get down. We don't package them when they are frozen. Okay, we just get them really good and cold, and then I'll talk about the packaging, which is a separate step that's done at another time. So once these birds are in here and they're chilling down, we will then start the packaging and labeling process. You can see there's not a lot of space in here to do that. So we have to clean this side down and then come back and do the packaging and labeling. Yeah. So we have windows here in the units, and then we also have this is a special kind of light for capturing insects that also has a sticky trap in it. So you're going to have flies in here because the door is open. So pest control is big, and you can't use chemical pest control because we're organic. Yeah, and don't use a zapper because what a zapper does is it zaps the insect and then the guts fly everywhere. So just don't use the zappers. It has a sticky plate on the back of it, so it catches that stuff. The flies go in here and they are attracted to the light, but it's actually a sticky trap. I know it looks like a bug light, but it's actually not a bug light. It just attracts them, and then they get stuck to the back end. Before I go on to talk about bagging, I want to talk about something else that's important that we do. This is a buffered peptone water solution that we send to the lab to have our chickens tested for pathogens. So every batch of chickens that we do gets sent to the lab in North Sioux City. We use this actually kind of like to rinse the birds, and we'll send the birds and the rinse to the lab to be tested. And that's what they're testing for: Salmonella, E. coli, and bacteria. That's the same thing you'd have in any federally inspected plant. We have had zero. We have had no test positive of Salmonella or E. coli in our facility ever. We've been testing since 2016, and we've never had a positive test. So, and I really think it has a lot to do with how we raise our birds and the attention that we give to how we care for them and the feed. We've never had a problem.
And time of processing, from time of kill to time of 40 degrees.
Yeah,
Time as short as possible.
Yes, you keep your time as short as possible. Yep, and we try to keep everything really clean. So you don't want fecal matter contaminating the meat. So it's really important that your birds are clean when they get to this table, because it's the fecal matter on the meat that oftentimes that's where you'll test positive. So we quality control all of our birds at the end, and we do a pathogen testing on all of them so that when people buy our meat, they know that it's safe to eat. Like it's the same system. Well, I wouldn't say the same. Similar to what you would see in a federal plant. We don't test every bird, but we test a representative sample from the day, right? So we don't have testing is expensive. To send it, I don't know what it is in 2024 because we haven't sent any for testing yet. But in the past, it was close to $100 per sample. I think I have to go back and look at my math, but it's not cheap, but it's worth it from an insurance and food safety standpoint. We want to make sure that when our birds are going out, that they are for sure, we say what they are, right? We don't want anybody to have a bad experience. Okay, so that's kind of like the end of this, like the phase 1 piece, which is that. And so what I'd like to do is We're going to pause for a moment, and then we're going to go and talk about how the final packaging and labeling process works. So now we're going to talk about phase 2, or part 2 of the process, which is once those chickens have drip dried a little bit and they've been chilled down good and firm. Now we're going to start the packaging process. So that's phase 2, and it's you want to have clean. You're going to have hair nets on. We should always have hair nets on. I have them in the bag, but we dress up with bibs and hair nets, and we have smocks on. So we want to make sure that like no hair or anything gets in the chickens. This particular step is vitally important that everything stays super clean. So clean hands, frequent hand washing, gloves, hair nets, smocks. The environment has really clean. This is not typically where we would do this. So we would, like I said, we'd clean down the second half of the plant, the back half, and then we're going to bring in we shrink bag our chickens, and I'm gonna talk about that. So the final product looks like this. It's a nice tight bag with a zip on it and a label, and this is typically how we sell them is vacuum packed like this. So how you get it like this is what we're going to be talking about. This is the end product. So I'm going to just demonstrate in theory how we do this, and then maybe I'll attach a video of what it looks like in actuality. But typically this is filled with hot water. So this is just a turkey fryer. You can get these at like, I don't know, any kind of sporting goods store for $100 right? Something like that. It's not very expensive. We're low budget here. So just an inexpensive turkey fryer. We fill it with water. We bring it up to, Glenn, do you remember the temperature for the bags? 180 again for the bags? Okay. I can't remember the exact temperature, but we have a temperature gauge that will tell us. So we use this temperature probe that once it gets to the right temperature, we know it's ready for the bag because we don't want it to be too hot. We also don't want it to be too cold. It should shrink around in just a few seconds when you put that bird in. So we'll pack the clean bird in one of these bags. So these are special kind of shrink. These are special shrink bags that you put the birds in here, right? And then you're going to get most of the air out of the bird. So you're going to squeeze the air out. You're going to put your zip tie on there. They say you should have just a teeny, yep. And then you have to poke the bag a little bit to get all of that rest of that air out. So we put a little teeny tiny poke on it, but it doesn't hurt anything. It'll seal up when it gets into the hot water. So imagine that. So it kind of looks like this, but when you put it down in the water, it's not shrank, right? It's just in the bag. We'll drop it down in that hot water. There's actually an inner liner here. You can see I can pull it right out with a piece of big long tongs that we have. We'll pick this up, so we'll drop the bird in there, zip with this, and it'll just shrink up just like this. When we pull it out, it'll look just like this. It'll be wet, it'll be nice and tight, the air will be out, so we'll pull it out, we'll dry it off. We'll dry the excess water off, and then it's ready for labeling and putting in the freezer. So the next step is after we have it like looking like this in the bag and ready to go, we'll put it on our Hobart scale. Is that pointing? Can you tell? Is it pointing on there? Okay. So we're going to put it on this is a Hobart label. It prints the label and weighs the bird at the same time. So it prints out this really nice label. It has all our information on there, the safe handling instructions, our website, phone number, all the stuff that's required for federal labeling, our address. It says certified organic by MOSA. It's got the lot date. Our pack date is our lot number. We use a Julian date for that. And then the net weight, and then how much the bird costs. So it's got a lot of good information for the consumer on here. And what's really nice about this is it weighs it and labels it all in one step. So we'll put the bird on there, and we'll press the button and down here, and it's got labels inside, and it'll just spit out the label. We'll pull it off, slap the label on the front, and then we'll do the next one. It goes really fast. You can pack 100 birds really fast with this machine. It has been the best investment we ever made. This is an older one, an older unit. You can get them on eBay for $500. But to me, it's so worth it, not having to hand write the weight and the amount on every label. It's a huge time saver. So yeah, so once they're like this, we put them in the freezer. We have a couple really big chest freezers. It's not a fancy setup, or we can use our walk-in freezer. And yeah, we'll put them in there, and then the next day they're frozen, and then we deliver them to customers. We do have some customers that will come and want them fresh. So we let the customers know the days we're processing fresh. They will come and they'll be waiting for their birds. And they pick them up fresh, right when they're done packaging. We also sell feet, gizzards, hearts, gizzards, liver, and feet. We have no problem selling those products. So we will package those separately. We sell them by the pound, and we have no problem getting rid of the byproducts. And we actually sometimes have people that just want the heads. I don't know what they do with them, but, huh?
People who train falcons.
Oh, they train falcons. I'm not sure, but we don't have a problem getting rid of, like, we have a few, the entrails that are left. The amount that we're actually composting is not that much. So out of a 5-pound bird, we might have not even like half a pound of entrails and feathers and all of that. So it's not like you're composting a beef carcass. It's, it's a bone-in whole bird. We don't do cut-ups. It's just one whole bird. We have a video on YouTube that walks you through how to do an 8-piece cut-up. And so we just give people a link to the YouTube video to how to cut up a chicken. And it's a great experience learning how to do it. But yeah, we just sell them whole. We don't have the capacity to do an 8-piece cut up or to debone or anything like that in the process. So a couple things about sanitation. So whatever you use in your facility has to be approved by your certifier. So we clean with 7th generation, just a clean with purpose, totally natural, plant-based. This is non-toxic. It's not going to destroy the environment. So we try to use something that's as safe as we can. So this is our cleaner. This is what we clean with. And then we use food-grade hydrogen peroxide. So that's what we sanitize with. And we also wash our eggs with this. So you can get this Essential Oxygen brand on Amazon. It's not that expensive. We buy it. It's a 3% solution that we buy in bulk in the big bottles, and we put them in a spray bottle, and we rinse our eggs with this. We do our countertop sanitation with this and everything. What's nice about this is you don't have to do a rinse event because this is approved under organic. Hydrogen peroxide food grade's approved, so you don't have to do a rinse event after you use this. At the end of the day, right, when you're done cleaning, we're not going to use hydrogen peroxide at the end of the day. We use a standard chlorine bleach sanitizer. So after we do our wash down, we get everything clean, we'll come back and we're going to put bleach on everything. We'll let it sit for like 3 minutes and then we'll rinse everything off. We're going to do that in the morning before we start, and we're going to do that at the end of the day. So we're starting clean, we're ending clean. Clorox bleach is the thing that the FSIS and the compliance agencies agree that is the best to use because it kills, guaranteed to kill, and research shows it kills 99.999% of all germs. But it never touches a bird. Yeah, you want to make sure you always do a rinse event after you use any chlorine because you can't have the birds coming in contact with that. It is not allowed as an organic input for chickens. Any questions before we move on to talking about animal nutrition? All good? Okay, so that's a little bit about the other side of that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the nutrition side of things. When we first get our birds, we order them in the mail, so they come sometimes a little stressed, right? Because they've been in the mail for 2 days, they're coming to us dehydrated, they've been in the mail for 2 days, and we found that when we get the birds that if we give them a little probiotics or a little electrolytes, it kind of boosts them a little bit. It helps them to get through the stress of that transition. So there's this product by Strong Animals. It is approved by our certifier to use. It's the only one I found that's approved, and it's electrolytes and vitamins. And you can get this at Tractor Supply. You can order it online. and it works great. And so we put a little bit of this in their water every day, and that's what they use to it's got organic essential oils in it, so it just helps them give them a little bit of boost to get him going. And so I always recommend, even though our certifier says yes, it's okay for you to use this product, I still strongly recommend you check with your certifier on everything before you give it to them. We also give our birds a little bit of chick grit. When they're out on pasture, you'd think that they would be getting rocks and little debris and things, but actually when they're out on pasture, our pastures aren't very rocky and they don't have a lot of grit in it. So we give the Mana Pro approved chick grit. That's an insoluble and product. Now usually I'm pretty good with the Mana Pro products being approved by our organic certifier. So this is a lot of I'm really happy with Mana Pro. We've had good luck with their products getting approved by our certifier, not so much by others. You can also use all natural oyster shell for your laying hens as they get older. They're probably going to need a little bit of a supplement. We do use bagged feed from time to time. Glenn, do you want to come hold this up and I can talk a little bit about when you're looking for your feed, what to look for. That bag's too heavy. I'm not going to try to pick it up. So this is an example of a product called Cluck & Company Organic. This is a chick starter crumble, organic food for chickens. So we just get this from, who has this? Running? TSC. Tractor Supply has this. So you can just buy this and buy the bag. This product is pretty good. It's expensive, but it's pretty good. We've been feeding it to our chicks and we're pretty happy with it.
If you talk to the manager, there's times if you buy in bulk, you can get a lot better rate than just buying individual bag price.
Yeah, you can buy it by the pallet too. You want to look for when you're looking for organic feed. Obviously, you want to look for the word organic. It's not always obvious, but what you want to look for is this USDA organic seal on the bag. This also has a non-GMO verified label on it, but you're going to want to look for this logo. And then the other thing I look for is who the certifier is. So on the back of the bag, when you turn it around, a couple of things I look at here is I want to make sure that on the bag somewhere it should say certified by. Sometimes it's happened where for whatever reason that important information is missing. Your certifier requires that you verify that the feed is actually organic. So even though that you have that label on there, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's organic. So I look for the certified organic by. This one says certified organic by PCO. So that is great. It's got the manufacturer's name and address on it, and that's the information I need. So what I will do is before I use this feed, even though it's organic, I'm going to take a picture of the label, send it to my certifier before I use it, and get their approval. I always do that. And then I also keep a copy on file of the label as well as the certificate. So I got to go on the internet and find the organic certificate for this company. It says manufactured for PMI Nutrition. So that was a little bit challenging finding the certificate for this feed because it's actually manufactured by Kramer's Feeds in Pennsylvania. It just was manufactured for Kramer Feeds by PMI Nutrition in Arden Hills, Minnesota. But you want to have the organic certificate and the label in your records for your inspector when he comes. I also keep labels of every product that I use. We keep one packet, one label, and the receipt for everything. So your inspector is going to want to see the labels, they're going to want to see the certificates, they're going to want to see the packaging, the original packaging, and the receipt where you purchased it from. So yes, there's a lot of record keeping that goes into this. You got to make sure you keep all of your records for that. And then I also keep I keep the sanitizers. I can just keep receipts for everything. So all the cleaners, everything I buy, I pretty much keep receipts for. And I keep them in my binder. Glenn, you want to grab that purple binder right there? So we have our records are kept both electronically and digitally. So this is an example. This actually is this one's running a couple years into 2024. Typically I have a binder for every year. Because we've moved to electronic record keeping, I have a lot less paper and a lot more electronic. But like I said, I keep my receipts for everything. So this particular binder, I'm going to have you come over here and hold it because I should put this behind. Anyway, you can see in this binder I have a, you want to come over here? So I have like a cover page, and this is really helpful for the inspector. It has all the different areas that the inspector is going to be looking at. So application and contract, certificates, crop fields, land and water, nutrient management, season planning, stock, pest and disease, harvest, storage and sales, livestock purchases, feed and bedding, animal dispersal, housing, movement and sales, processing and handling. I have my approved labels, my maps, and a complaint log. So I keep all of this here, but I have electronic copies as well. This is really helpful for the inspector to have it laid out and then organize it so it's easy for your inspector to find what they need when they come to visit your farm. So we get inspected once a year, usually in the summer, sometimes in the fall. But there's some important things here that I keep on hand just in case somebody pops to the farm. So I keep some of the critical stuff here for Glenn. He can go run, if we do have an unannounced inspection, he can just run and grab the binder, and he can have the essential information there ready for the inspector. Because under organic, you do sign paperwork that you're subject to unannounced inspection. So they could pop in at any time and say, oh, we're here to check to see how things are going. So you want to make sure you have your records current all the time and make sure everything's ready to go in case you do get a spot check. We also have, Glenn, if you want to grab our egg, we also have an egg log that so every day when we collect eggs, we have an egg log where we record. It's just a simple binder, like notebook. We've been keeping it for ages. But in here, we do lot numbers by Julian date. So I have a Julian date calendar. So whatever Julian date is, that's our pack date. That's our lot number. So, Julian date and then like -24 for the year 24. So anyways, very basic egg collection log. So we have the date, the lot number, the total eggs collected, the number discarded, the number for personal use, the number sold, the price, and the notes. And so it's pretty simple. You don't need to have like a super fancy record keeping system. Something small will work just fine. And then I transfer those manual records into an electronic spreadsheet, and then the inspector has that available when he comes. So they'll do what's called an in-out audit. So he's going to look at all, how many eggs that we collected versus how many eggs were sold. It's called like an audit trail. He's going to do like an audit trail. And what they're looking for is to make sure that you're not selling more than you're actually harvesting, right? Because that's fraud. So the big thing in organic is make sure that you're actually not overselling, right? So if your field is only capable of producing 6 tons of hay and they come in, you're selling 12 tons of organic hay, that might raise a red flag that, hey, we got a problem. So that's the checks and balances in organic, is checking to make sure that you're actually selling what you're actually producing on your farm. So, if I have 100 laying hens and I'm putting down that I'm collecting, 110 eggs a day, that's probably not correct. Because we know that 100 chickens they're not gonna lay 110 eggs a day. Probably we are closer to probably 80 to 90, 85. So you'll never get like 100%. So it's usually about 85% lay. On our Australorps, that was the breed that we have. We have Australorps primarily. We're really happy with Australorps. There's a lot of different breeds of chickens, but we're really happy with them. They're black, and the Buff Orpingtons. One thing about the Australorps is they're not as heavy layers as sex links, but they're they're not also as aggressive as sex links are. They're a little bit on the more milder scale. Buff Orpingtons are a little too mild. They're not protective enough, and they end up getting picked off by a lot of predators because they're so friendly and they're so nice and they're so sweet. They're like pets, but these birds just don't know how to defend themselves and run for cover, when they really need help. So we kind of find with the Australorps, they're a mix of not being too aggressive, but also not being too docile. So they're kind of able to they're a little bit smarter when it comes to, okay, I got a problem here, so I need to run for cover. We collect our eggs. Like I said, we go out. We have baskets. We just manually collect our eggs out of the nest boxes. We have rolling nest boxes, or they roll out, so they're the rolling kind. And then when we wash them, we just pack them in these for bulk if they're going to. We used to sell in bulk like this in these big plastic trays, but we don't anymore. We pack them in. I don't have an example here, but we used to use clean new pulp cartons that we get from Egg Carton online. So we just order them online, like 500 in a case, and we go through them and we label them using a different labeling machine than this, but we just label them. We put the pack date on them, and almost all when we have eggs, when we have a surplus of eggs, they all go to Hy-Vee. So, but we sell some to friends and neighbors and direct off the farm. And I think that's about it. Thank you, Morgan, for all of your help today.